Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we've got your Week 14 start and sit video for the running back position. This is the final week for most of you. Maybe some of you are starting your playoffs this week, but most of you are probably in your last regular season, whether it be for seeding or, of course, making the playoffs. So hopefully you guys are watching these videos. Hopefully this helps you guys out. And of course, if you guys do have lineup questions, hit us up in the comments down below. If you haven't already, check out our other start and sit videos. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Don't forget to hit the like button, and let's jump into this. Now, 2 weeks, 2 teams on a bye. Cardinals, Commanders. As far as running backs, obviously you're missing Brian Robinson, who's been playing phenomenal this season. Of course, James Conner had a great game last week, but not playing this week. Now, these are your obvious, as far as running backs go, who should be in your lineup. I don't have a huge list, but these running backs I do like this week. The only thing you do have to be concerned with is Pacheco's dealing with a little bit of an injury, so just something to keep an eye on. But these guys I feel comfortable putting in my lineup without a guess at all. Now, first running back I'm going to mention as a good start, it's going to be Joe Mixon versus the Colts. Mixon had a phenomenal game, his best game of the season, putting up 2 touchdowns and just a little over 65 yards on the ground against the Jacksonville Jaguars, coming up with that upset. Now we're going against a team that the Colts are allowing 106 yards on the ground, averaging a touchdown per game, and in PPR allowing 17.3 points a game. Now, with Browning, who has done a phenomenal job trying to fill in for Joe Burrow, is going to continue to rely on Joe Mixon, allow him to be that red zone threat when he's near the goal line. And I like this matchup for him. Again, being utilized, getting plenty of touches. Now, Chase Brown, who did come back from IR, is getting some opportunities and touches as well. I do like him as one of my dynasty players, and that's a whole nother conversation, but I still think Mixon has a great game this week. I like him a lot. Another running back I like secretly is Alexander Mattison. He's not somebody I've talked about a lot this season, unless I'm talking sits, but he's going against the Raiders, who aren't great against the run. The biggest thing that I want to talk about with Mattison also is the fact that not only the Raiders are allowing over 100 yards a game, in the last 6 games alone, Raiders are allowing 20.9 points to the running back, and Justin Jefferson's back. Like, to me, that is, I think, the biggest thing for the Vikings. You get Justin Jefferson back. You have obviously a great rookie in Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and obviously as long as Josh Dobbs does what I think he can do, I know it was a bad game the previous time, but if he can do what he can do, getting these receivers the ball, Madison's going to have it easy, right? They're not going to focus on trying to stop Madison. They got to focus on stopping Jefferson. They got to focus on stopping Hawkinson or Addison. And that just leaves up the opportunity for Madison to do well. I really like this one for him. I think it's going to be a secret, really like maybe a solid RB2, maybe a low RB1 week. I think he's going to perform really well. I like this matchup. Now, the last running back, Jahmyr Gibbs versus the Bears. Last outing, the Gibbs had 21 points. A lot of it was contributed in the passing game at 6 receptions, and he did have a touchdown on the ground in that game. Now, of course, the concern with Jahmyr Gibbs is always the fact that David Montgomery continues to be the red zone threat, continues to be the guy who gets more opportunities, at least on the ground. And if the Bears do make this game competitive, which I do expect the Bears to do that, they will still be forced to throw, which is where Gibbs has been great. Bears are tough on the ground, but they are really, really vulnerable to receiving backs, allowing 6 receptions per game, which is why, again, Gibbs is going to perform. I like Montgomery this week. I still think Gibbs is a solid RB2 this week as well. I like him a lot this week. Now, my first running back I'm going to sit this week is going to be Tony Pollard versus the Eagles. Pollard has been on a little of a touchdown streak, which has been fantastic to see. Because again, last time he had one was week 2 or week 1 of the season. So, with that said though, last outing he did not perform very well against the Eagles. And the Eagles have a really good defense, and now they have Shaq Leonard, who should start in this game, or at least get play time a lot in this game. Last outing, Pollard had 9.3 points a game. Philly's only allowing 12.1 points a game as well. So really, could he get to that 12-point mark? Sure. But that's a low RB2 outing for him. Pollard is not somebody I really trust. I think it's going to be a shootout between both Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott. I trust the passing game more than I do in the running game. And in that same game, I am not starting DeAndre Swift versus the Cowboys. In that same game with Swift, he had, I think, 10 points. 9.4 points. And the Cowboys only allowed 10 points. Swift has struggled a lot this season. He has been on a little bit of a lull. He hasn't hit really strong numbers in a couple weeks. I know he's played some tough defenses, but even in games where, for example, the Bills, he had opportunities, just didn't really perform very well. So I do worry with DeAndre Swift, and the fact that Gainwell is starting to get a little bit more chances and opportunities does worry me as well. Philly is getting Goddard back, which I think, again, if you're talking passes, Swift typically got some of those quicker passes. Goddard, I think, is going to be the one taking advantage of that. And Swift did practice this week, but he's still dealing with injury. I'm going to put him on my bench if I can. Now, the last running back I'm sitting this week is going to be Derrick Henry versus the Dolphins. Look, at the end of the day, game script matters. Derrick Henry had played really well, went into concussion protocol, but then they said it wasn't in concussion, so there is no protocol he's dealing with. But with that said, I still don't trust him this week against the Dolphins. Dolphins should be up big against Tennessee, and with that said, it's going to game script completely out of this one for Derrick Henry. Now, Tajay Spears, who I mentioned in my waiver wire video, has a possibility of having some receptions and getting some, maybe an 8 to 9 point game in this one. Like if you're in a really deep league and you need to play Spears, he might have some value. I think he's got a higher value than Derrick Henry this week. But the fact is, Dolphins have done a really good job against the run. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're up big, forcing teams to throw instead of running. So that's the biggest reason. And this game script is going to be one of those. I don't trust Derrick Henry. Now, my sleeper of the week is going to be A.J. Dillon versus the Giants. Aaron Jones, we'll see. It's something to keep an eye on. We're not sure. Nothing's been announced yet as far as his playing on Sunday. But if A.J. Dillon does get the start again, Giants are not great. In the last 5 games, Giants have allowed an average of 19.7 points a game, allowing a touchdown per game as well, and averaging over 116 yards on the ground. This is a game that Packers should be up. Giants are still underperforming big time. They're dealing with a lot of injuries. Nothing against, it's just something they're dealing with, unfortunately, this season. And so with that said, the defense is definitely going to be exposed, giving the chance for Dillon to score a touchdown in this game. And I get him in around that 70 to 80 yards on the ground. I don't think he hits 100, but I think he's going to be an amazing flex play or a solid RB2 this week. I like A.J. Dillon. So those are my start sits and sleepers for week 14. If you guys do have questions for your lineup, hit me up in the comments down below. Don't forget our other start and sit videos. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button and that like button as well. And I'll check you guys out next time.